tendency to retrofit our prior expectations is called hindsight bias, or the I knew it all along phenomenon. Now, in definition form, hindsight bias is the tendency to exaggerate after learning an outcome. One's ability to have foreseen how something turned out. Hindsight bias is the tendency to exaggerate after learning an outcome. One's ability to have foreseen how something turned out. Now, hindsight bias has become one of psychology's best established phenomenons. Likewise, in everyday life, we often do not expect something to happen until it does. Then we suddenly see it clearly, the forces that brought the events about, and feel unsurprised. Now, what's crazy about this is that it also goes on to say that we may also misremember our earlier view. So even if we've come out and said something earlier about our position on a certain thing, hindsight bias can have us misremember, while we'll misremember through hindsight bias what we actually said initially, catering it towards what we now know is the answer or the solution. And again, you see this in conversations everywhere. You'll probably start noticing it more and more as you start to go along and hindsight bias, hindsight bias, hindsight bias. So it's going to pop up more. You'll see it. So, errors in judging the future's foreseeability plus errors in remembering our past combine to create hindsight bias. I said that pretty fast, but let me go over it again. It says errors in the judging of future's foreseeability plus errors in remembering our past combine to create hindsight bias. Why hindsight bias is a thing? Like, what is the purpose of hindsight bias, And that's a question that I have, and that's a question that we're going to explore right now. Now, I haven't looked into this yet because I don't want to be a victim of hindsight bias. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you my unprofessional opinion, thought on hindsight bias, on the purpose of it. So for me, whenever I think about things in terms of why things exist and stuff of that nature, when you talk about looking at humans, I go back to what I perceive in my mind is to be how we were in the early stages of humanity, suggesting that we're kind of hardwired in that way, and that the things that have gone on in that time, the ways that we were made in that time actually make sense and live on to how we conduct ourselves now, in a sense. So one of the things that I think is the purpose for hindsight bias is I think that what it does for us, it preserves our reputation. And it also protects our perception, protects how we're perceived as a valuable member of the group. So it protects our reputation, and it preserves our importance, our position as an important member, as a valued member of the group. What I mean by that is that if, let's say you're in a situation where you are, let's go prehistoric, whatever, and you're seen as wrong, and wrong can be the difference between life and death. If I want to maintain having value to the group, I have to make sure that I'm as right as often as I can be. And so it makes more sense for me to concoct a way to where even if the answer wasn't in line with what I thought it would be, that I'm still close enough to it to be perceived as right. Because if I can sell it to myself that I'm right, then hopefully I can sell it to you as well, and you'll see that I'm right as well. And if you see that I'm right, then you'll see that I'm still a valued member of the group. Now, I could be totally wrong, but that's my guess from the forefront. What we're going to do now, hey, ChatGPT, give us the answer.
Number one, it makes us feel smarter. Saying I knew it makes us feel good.
like we understand things better than we really do. Number 2, it keeps things simple. Our brains like to make things easier to understand, so we pretend the answer was obvious all along. Number 3, it helps us feel in control. Thinking we knew what would happen makes the world seem less random and more predictable, which feels safer. Okay, so I guess I was wrong. All right, guys, so we looked into that. That was super fun. I hope you had a good time. Thank you guys for checking out Psychology with me.